Hey pals, it's Sean from the Comics Pals here live at New York Comic Con 2025. It is booming in this place and it's only day one, which is a beautiful thing to see. Now I am standing next to a man whose star is massively on the rise in comics, someone who is doing some of the best books that I'm currently reading and probably the best books in your stack too. I'm standing next to writer Chris Condon. Chris, how you doing?
I'm well. Thank you very much for the introduction. That was very kind of you.
You're welcome. It's great to see you here, and I feel like I went from not knowing the name Chris Condon to loving every single thing you write within a span of 1 year.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I had a year where I was doing just work for hire stuff, and I feel like that really helped get my name out there.
Sure.
And then obviously doing a book like Green Arrow and then doing a book like Ultimate Wolverine helped people find my stuff, which is amazing. But yeah, it's been a crazy year, year and a half, 2 years. I don't know what it's been. It's just been a while, but yeah, but it's been great.
I think the first book I read was Ultimate Wolverine.
Yeah.
And then of course you go and you do the digging through the crates, so to speak, and you do the backlog and you read everything that you've put out since.
Yeah.
Ultimate Wolverine is a book that a lot of people said, oh, well, it's just Wolverine. What's different about this in Ultimates from mainline? I have loved the way that we have gotten to see the differences. It feels like you've pulled back the layers on this version of Wolverine across these issues that we've gotten. What were the things that it was important for you to kind of bring to the table with this character to freshen things up from mainline? Of course, we have a storied history with that version of the character.
Yeah. So for me, I'm a big fan of Wolverine. I love the character. Weapon X is one of my all-time favorite stories by Barry Windsor Smith. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. I think it's one of the best comic stories of all time. And so I felt like I had to do something to pay tribute to that, to do something that would live up to that in my eyes, like in terms of what I was going to do. So I really approached it with that in mind, and with that in mind, my goal really was to not write something that takes place in the Ultimate Universe, which it does, obviously, but it was to write the Ultimate Wolverine story for me.
Right.
So that was how I approached it. With that in mind. So, but yeah, I just, the setting really helps the story. Knowing that Colossus and Magic and Omega Red are these big bads in the Eurasian Republic. I think that's a really interesting dynamic. And to put a spin on a sort of classic trope of Wolverine being brainwashed and doing bad things, and it's but really kind of diving into that and exploring that a little bit deeper and having there be real stakes.
Yes.
Where characters may die. So and that was a thing that I thought was very important to do in the book.
One of the really interesting things to me about the series is that mainline Wolverine, we've heard about the awful stuff that he went through before in his past. A lot of that stuff we've seen in flashbacks, but it was never quite current time for Wolverine in our reading. But in your book, we're seeing him go through those manipulations and being a weapon for someone else in real time, which I think is a fascinating look at a character who we've seen so much of over the years.
Yeah. Again, it's just, I just really wanted to tell, I don't really know what else to say at this point other than just saying that, from my perspective, I really wanted to make something that I felt lived up to what I thought the character could be, or should be, and that's not to deride any other versions of Wolverine that are out there, but from my perspective, there's a certain Wolverine that I look at as like the landmark that I wanted to try to emulate, and that's it. That's all I tried to do.
It feels like that.
I hope so.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm
glad to hear
it. Was it fun for you getting to write some of the traditionally heroic characters like Magic and Colossus and kind of turn the tables?
Yes. Absolutely. I love it, especially Magic. She's so fun to write. I love her.
Yeah.
She's like my favorite mustache-twirling villain. I love it. There's the last issue that just came out had Omega Red in it, and that was very fun to write as well. So I love writing these characters, especially Colossus and Magic. But Colossus is so fun. I wanted to approach him like like a cigar chomping, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like Macho Man Commando.
Sure.
But like when he's in charge, like he's no
Yeah.
longer a grunt, like he's now the one in charge. And that was how I wanted to approach him. And I thought he was like such a fun villain. So yeah.
I think you've been thoughtful about all those characters because Colossus is typically, we've seen some things that have a villainous turn for him, but it's mostly like he's being manipulated or mind controlled or something like that.
Yeah.
You are putting him in charge,
Yeah.
which is not something we've traditionally seen with Colossus when he's bad. So getting to see him and Magic play off of each other as villains has been a treat. I didn't know Magic had it in her. I didn't.
Well, yeah, so it's just very fun to get to play with those characters in that
Sure.
setting and get to see them in that situation where they are evil, and they are evil, make no mistake, and they're not going to become good. Like, they're, in my mind, they're irredeemable, so,
Good.
and this is another universe, so that's okay, but yeah, I didn't make the decision to make those characters evil, to turn them and put that spin on them.
Sure.
But knowing that was the thing that we could do, I mean, that was how I approached Sabertooth. Sabertooth, who's a person who is irredeemable to a lot of people. I think he's my favorite character in the book. I absolutely love that character, and I want to spend more time with him. And I'm so fortunate that we were able to get to play with it and get to put an interesting spin on it.
I love his kids.
Yeah, I know. It's fun. You would never expect.
Right.
So that's why it's fun.
And that's one of the most fun things about seeing fresh faces, fresh voices in the Big Two space.
Yeah.
You among them, and that's why the Ultimate Universe has been so fascinating, because you can look at the history of these characters and the comics that they're in and say, well, I'll take Sabertooth and make him, a dad. And like see how that works. Like give him sort of the Wolverine arc that we're used to getting in mainline, where he's this mentor and is a protector of children. Now Sabertooth is that in Ultimate. So it's just been a joy, and just thank you for this book.
Thank you.
Now I fell in love with the Einfeld Gang Massacre.
Yeah.
I fell in love with this book. I bought it because I had just heard your name, and Jacob Phillips is a superstar as far as I'm concerned. So, but I didn't know that it was connected to that Texas blood. I couldn't believe how much I fell in love with the Einfeld Gang Massacre. We need more books like that. We need more books that, to me at least, that feel like they're not afraid to tell stories that might not be comfortable, and you seem to have that kind of approach to storytelling.
Thank you. That's something that's very important to me. I don't ever want to tell the same story twice. I don't ever want to feel like I am telling a pat story. I always want to try to push myself as much as I possibly can. I try to do that in Green Arrow. I try to do it in Ultimate Wolverine. I try to do it in my indie stuff.
Sure.
News in the Fallout, I think, is a book like nothing else out there right now.
100%.
So that's always something that I'm striving for, is to push myself into interesting places and try new things. And I won't tell you what it is because I can't, but there was a Marvel gig that I ended up just saying yes to because of what it is and because it's something that I wouldn't typically do. So I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. Let me try it. And I think that's really interesting. I am a comic reader, so I love when creators do those kinds of things. So that's kind of been my approach to being a creator is just thinking about, well, what would I like to see, because I am a reader. I go to the comic shop every Wednesday. There's like 3 shops that I go to, and I love going to the shop. I dig through back issue bins, and I'm buying things off the wall when I can, and but I'm buying the new books as well, and it's like I just love them, So
I think you're a part of a crop of creators who are coming up now, who to me are doing fascinating things. You talk about Dennis Camp, a lot of the people who were at the Image panel today.
Yeah.
You guys are doing things that I think are making the comics industry actively better, just by taking risks and taking chances and spreading things out a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think there's a point to doing something that doesn't take a risk. I don't really understand why you wouldn't. And especially, the other thing is that we are so fortunate to be creators, to be comic book creators with an audience, to get paid to do this. You know, we are really fortunate to be able to do that. So it is on us. The onus is on us to make things as interesting as possible.
Sure.
And I think that people with a deep love for the industry and a deep love for the medium, like Dennis and myself, I think that those are the kinds of people that will be creating interesting books, you know? And yeah, I just, to me, that's the most important thing is I just want to tell interesting stories, good stories, you know? And so, and something in a way that we haven't seen before, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is how we get to the point where, you know, you'll inspire the next generation of creators who follow in your footsteps and want to do things that are different, just like you did.
Well, it's very cool for you to say that. I try to just think, you know, in the here and now, but
Right.
but that's
Sure.
very cool of you to say.
So I'm getting the wrap sign, but there was one last question that I
Sure.
wanted to ask. Now, you've been a fan, it sounds like, of comics for a very long time.
Yeah.
How crazy is it for you to be here right now, have a booth, selling not just Marvel and DC
Yeah.
books, but books that came from your heart and soul, ideas that generated from you and your artistic collaborators? How does that feel?
It's a dream. It's a dream. I don't know. It's there's nothing better than the thing that I always say is that there's nothing better than getting an email from an artist with new pages. It's like it's a dream because it's like, you know, I can write this stuff, but seeing the artwork come in from amazing artists like Alessandro Cabuccio is right behind me.
Yes.
Or to know that I have a Vertigo book now, and this was a book that I was writing and drawing myself in high school. So
Really?
yeah. So it started off as that. It was a little different, obviously, but you know, we're really fortunate that I've been given the opportunity to get to tell these stories now, and it's just it kind of blows my mind. I don't really, it doesn't feel real sometimes, and sometimes you forget, and then you'll get like followed by Kurt Busiek, and you're like, oh, that's crazy.
Right.
You know, so there's things like that where it's just like, wow, okay, I'm like somebody in the industry that people like know or that people respect, and it's like that, and that's the really cool thing for me.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for your time. It has
Thank you.
been a great talk to you. I am really looking forward to the rest of your career. I will continue to read and buy everything you put out and just continue to do great work, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm Sean from the Comics Pals. We will be here all week long doing interviews, so keep it locked right here on the YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like if you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.